Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a good evening as we all make our way to our seats. So, we have a few more people in the back that we usually don't have. We have men's breakfast coming up this Saturday at 7:30 a.m. The annual planning meeting is on Saturday at 9 a.m., so following the men's breakfast. We need more people to clean the church. If you have a weekend available, just talk to Renee or anybody who's in charge of the church and fill in a little spot for a week and go out and clean the church because we need some more of those. We have the Thanksgiving feast on the 23rd. Coming up pretty quickly, but even quicker than that, we have the Veterans Meal on November 15th. Look at the bulletin for updates and also look at the bulletin board for the Thanksgiving feast for sign-up things for food and stuff like that. And that's about it. Sorry. Dearly Father, Lord, thank you for this nice day we had to God. Thank you for allowing us all to gather here today. Please help that we all just get something from Kenny's message, and that thank you that we can just raise our voices and praise you under the leadership of Cameron there, Lord, and just please help they also have a good rest of our day, Lord. Amen.
All right, so we picked songs today for communion, but I guess they went ahead and fit with Mike's message, so we're good to go. There we go. Saved a wretch like me. think it's been a minute since we did this one, so at least it's hard for me. He giveth more grace when our burdens grow greater. He sendeth more strength as our labors increase.
How is everybody tonight? There's a lot of people here, making me nervous. Last time I was going to actually do this lesson, I think it was back in the summer, or late spring or early summer, and then we got canceled because we had like big storms and everything, so I was kind of bummed out I didn't get to do it. And then I was thinking, oh, what am I going to speak on? And then I remembered, oh, I was going to do this. So I couldn't find my papers from last time, though, so I made new ones. But what I like to talk about is Daniel chapter 3, 1 to 30, the fiery furnace. If everybody wants to turn there, and then we will open in a word of prayer once everybody finds it. Sorry, kids, I don't do candy because it kind of throws off my rhythm. I don't know how Pastor Jeff does it and keeps going and keeps his mind straight, but I can't do it. So I guess answer questions, and I'll give you a high five later if you answer a question. All right, I'm going to open a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for everybody here tonight and just this time that we can look at your word and look at people, how they trusted you even thousands of years ago. Even before Jesus came, they were trusting in you. And just thank you for those examples of regular men we have like us and still the great things they could do. Amen. All right, so if we talk about this real quick, I know it's a children's story that is widely known. All the kids here probably heard it, I don't know, probably 20 times. But there are so many things to learn. And before we dive into it and start reading, I just want people to say different things that stick out to them about this story. It doesn't have to be an application, just, I don't know. Like the one thing to me, I'm going to steal somebody's, sorry. But an image, and I'll mention it later as I go through it, but an image like that made of gold. Can you imagine how much money that would be worth? I mean, no, it wasn't worth anything to God because it was a false idol, and it was of Nebuchadnezzar. But, I mean, that's just crazy, that image. I was going to try and look and do some research as to, like, if it was pure gold or just gold plate, but it doesn't say it was gold-plated. So, I mean, that's just an amazing amount of gold put in at 100 feet in the air. So, anyone else? Yes?
Well, it tells you that the fire was so hot that when they opened the door, it actually incinerated the guards. And they still went in and survived.
And that had to be, I'm going to talk about that too. It blows my mind that, yeah, it was that hot and they weren't even near the flames. Yes?
For me, it's that they're in there, but they're not alone. You know, they're not alone, just like we're not alone when we're going through fire.
Yep, definitely. Some good stuff, kids. You guys are always talking about kids. Yes, David? Yeah, it's incredible. We just sit around campfires, sometimes not even with the wind blowing towards us, and we still smell like smoke. So that was definitely God too, yes. And nothing was singed. Bugsy.
I thought about the witness that it gives. So, I mean, the other people in the audience or that were there that were supposed to bow down, some of them were probably Israelites background, came from Jerusalem, and they actually stood up and did what they were supposed to in God's eyes versus some of the ones that were probably there that bowed down.
The only people in the whole out of nations, only people that didn't do it. So, of course, yeah, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Anybody else? I know there's more. Hardly anyone shared yet. There's lots of things besides that. Anyone else?
Well, the courage of the men that went into the furnace, they said, you know, we're not going to do it, but and if we die, we die.
And another, oh, go ahead.
So, you know, it's their courage that they were not going to, you know, bow down to Nebuchadnezzar.
And another point I'll make later is they said, even if we do die, we want it to be known that we only worship God and not any other god or false god or idol. Anyone else?
But it's also interesting that these three gentlemen are never mentioned in Daniel after this.
But yet they were promoted, yeah.
Yeah, they were promoted, but they're not mentioned at all.
Yeah, they were mentioned with the vegetables, right? And then
Yeah.
this, and then that was it, yeah. Yep. I think he was off because he was like a sad, as I was studying this, he was a sad trap, or just one of the, he was one of the 6 different people, but he wasn't there. So he must have been off for business. That's the only thing I could think. But I guess it's not, like you always tell me, it's not important if it's not in there. So don't worry about it. He says that all the time when I ask him questions and he doesn't know the answer. He does. Okay. Anyone else? Before we get started. Okay. Well, you guys brought out a lot of good points, and some of them I am going to go over too. So let's go to Daniel chapter 3. If somebody wants to read, the first point I got is an image is made. So if somebody would like to read 3 verse 1, I know our kids always, the teens always are quick to read in our class. I don't know about the adults because I'm not in here very often. But I know they always read a lot and like to read. So whoever wants to read, adult or kid, I don't care. Huh? Yeah, just verse 1 for the first point. The other ones are multiple. This is the only one that's only one verse.
Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was there 3 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits, and he set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon.
Okay, so the first main point we see of this story is Nebuchadnezzar is a very sinful man and makes an image. And so the different things we see about this image is that the first thing we see is it was of gold. And like I said, wow, something that we have never even seen anything like that in our lifetime. That big, 60 cubits would be 90 feet roughly, and 6 cubits wide is 9 feet. And the only thing I can think of that would be about this height, I don't know in here who's familiar with farms, but I work on a lot of grain legs, and they're roughly around that, roughly the width with the tower around them, 9 feet, and they're about 100 feet high. I don't even know if everyone in here knows what a grain leg is, but that's what comes to my mind. Something that big and high, which is huge. I mean, he had to have a way to support it and everything else to be that tall with wind in it. If it's in the plains, I would think there would be wind there. But that's what we see. It's gold and it's huge. So everybody can, all the nations around can see, which is probably valuable with money, but to me it's pretty much a pile of garbage, right? Would everybody agree? A golden pile of garbage. I mean, that's how I would look at it. Let me see. Okay, so he made this giant image that is thought of by him that he wants people to see and worship. So how arrogant is this guy, do you think? Yes. Very, like, I don't even think we can, like, if we think of all the leaders that are arrogant and that in the world today, I don't even think they come close to him, honestly, because this guy seems so full of himself and so, I don't know, just this is the way it is. You guys are going to bow down to this image that I have made, and that's the way it is. And it's in the plain of Dura. What do we know about the plain of Dura? Does anyone know anything about it? It's probably about 6 miles south of Babylon. And it's thought to be from the Achaian word Dura, meaning circuit or a walled place. So some people think that it might have had a wall around it. I don't know. It's probably not proven. But there is thought, some scholars believe it could have a wall around it. But it was probably a really flat place so that if this was, and I imagine maybe raised a little bit just so all the nations around could see this great image. Well, Nebuchadnezzar thought it was great, but obviously these three gentlemen did not think it was at all. So that's the first thing we see, an image is made. And then the second thing we're going to see is an announcement is made. If somebody would like to read 2 to 6.
Then King Nebuchadnezzar set to gather the satraps and the prefects and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then the satraps and the prefects and the governors and counselors and the treasurers and the justices and the magistrates and all the officials of the provinces gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and to worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be cast into the burning fiery furnace."
Okay, so we see the announcement made. And who does he invite to make this announcement? Pretty much all the big leaders, yeah. So administrators, governors, counselors, like anybody that was of any importance in the area of all the countries or nations was invited to this dedication of this image. So you think this was a very big deal at the time? Unfortunately, yes. I think it was. And isn't that sad? That this was a big deal. That all these men of great importance and smart men and judges and magistrates, they all took time out of their day to go to this, right? That's sad. Do we see that nowadays? Yeah, we see people take off work to go to things that aren't important, things that have nothing to do with God, or even denounce God at different things.
Having the satraps and all those doing this makes the people think, well, if they think it's okay, then it's okay with us as well, rather than having someone who was not of any kind of importance doing that kind of announcement.
Right.
You know, it's sort of the same thing, you know, where the sheep follow the leader type of thing.
And that was a problem, though. All these guys thought it was important because they left their jobs to come to this from all over to come to this. So, yes, this was a very big deal to all of them. To Nebuchadnezzar, all his men, all the other nations around, they were like, yes, we will be there. This is, I can't even imagine, that they're like right on board with it right away. But, yeah, they probably didn't want to get thrown into the fire, is my guess. So yeah, they made it very important to be there. So, the announcement is made. And what is the announcement? Anybody? Verse 5. Yes, go ahead. Now, if you were a person there, what would you think? I think there'd be lots of thoughts in my head, honestly. What do you guys think? Huh? Well, what would you think, though? Would you be like, what? I'm going to get thrown into the fire just if I don't bow down to this image? And you're right, yeah, you probably would, because you're like, well, I don't want to get thrown in the fire for something so dumb. But 3 men had the faith, yes.
In that day and age, though, a lot of the rulers and kings and pharaohs, they were gods.
Right.
So, they probably
Yeah, they got worshipped.
were used to that train of thought.
Right. So we see the punishment given is clearly in this big announcement that they made, this big ceremony, however it was. I've tried to picture it, and I've come up with different analysis in my head of how it might have looked or been. It's crazy. How'd they even make the announcement for all the nations? Here's what I've thought of. I mean, they didn't have smartphones where they could just put it on and everybody gets it on social media or anything. But somehow they did it. So the punishment is given. He's saying, if you don't do this, you're going to be thrown into the furnace. So do you guys think Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego heard that, or they just weren't around when the announcement was made? Exactly. They heard. They definitely heard. And they knew. And they knew the consequences at the time. So now we see the third point to the story. The time comes, 7 to 12. Whoever would like to read that.
So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre in the symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore, at the time, a certain astrologer came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in the symphony with all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image.
Wait, was that everything? To 12, yeah.
And whoever does not fall down, worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up.
Okay. So the first thing I think about this is, like just a chapter before, what story did we have? Anybody? Daniel and his friends being promoted, right? Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face, prostrate before Daniel, and commanded that they should present an offering and incense to him. The king answered Daniel and said, Truly, your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer. God of gods, the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, since you could reveal this secret. Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts. And he gave him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel petitioned the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. So either Nebuchadnezzar's got like short-term memory loss, or he's just really stubborn. He's just saying how great God is, right? And then these men come and he finds out that they're not it kind of blows my mind that he's even shocked and surprised that they're not. But he calls them in, and no, he doesn't call them in yet. This is when the time comes. So the whole region bows down and worships the image. Could have they just bowed down and pretend like they were worshiping God? They could have. But what would that be? An appearance of what? Huh? Yeah, appearance of evil and a lie. Yeah, it could be many things. Which we're supposed to stay away from appearance of evil and all that stuff. And lies and everything. It would be, it'd be a lot. But they could have done it, and don't know how God would have dealt with them, but they did not do that. The whole region, can you guys imagine just everybody's doing their grocery shopping or playing basketball or whatever they're doing, I don't know. Doing all about their normal deed, and then they hear all this beautiful, I imagine it was beautiful music when they say all the different instruments they use. It starts playing, and how they got it to where everyone could hear it, I don't know. I don't know how it was all done, honestly. But then everybody just bows down, everywhere, down to this image they can see way off in the distance, up 100 feet in the air, or almost 100 feet. And these three men, I don't know if they just stood there, if they walked away or completely ignored it. I don't know how they went about doing it, but I mean, it's great to think about, well, did they just walk away completely? Or did they just stand there and not bow? It doesn't matter. No matter how we put it, they did not do it because they were reported by the Chaldeans that they did not bow down to the image. That these three men who the king had just promoted just a chapter before, I don't know how long before this it was, but they did not do it. So the fourth point we see is the three men are what? Who wants to guess? Everyone knows. Huh? Confronted is what I got. Well, that's what I got, that they were snitched on with the when the time comes. I had that all together as part of the time coming. So the three men are confronted. So Nebuchadnezzar is what? He's mad, but he's not near as mad as in a minute when his face. I can't even imagine what that looked like, that they said the expression on his face changed. I think that's even more than anything we can imagine, for his face to just really, I mean, because he was furious. In 13 it says that he was mad before, and then he brings the men in, and what's he ask? Oh, let's read the section. 13 to 18, somebody want to read that?
Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and the psaltery, and the symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up."
Wow. They're pretty gutsy, right? Or they have a lot of faith in God, which that's more what it is. They sat their own self aside and said, no, we are not going to do it. You can threaten us with a fire, but that doesn't do anything. All three of them, that's interesting too, that all three of them stood together on this. The only three people in the nations, in all the nations, that stood together. So, he asks the men if it's true. And then what does he ask them after that? Who what? Huh? Yeah. Who will deliver you from this? Who is the God? After he just praised God in the chapter before. Now he's saying, huh?
He's got dementia.
Yeah. Or yeah. He's got something. Or he just got full of himself right after he said, praise to God. Yes, he is furious, and he asks him, who will deliver you when you be thrown into the... Well, he finds out pretty shortly. Real shortly, actually. And what did they tell him? They told him they will be thrown in. That they're okay with it. Go ahead and throw us in. And they let him know that what? They will not worship anything or anyone but... Kids? What? God, yeah. Talk louder. Talk louder in my class. Yes, anyone but God. So they trust God. And this next thing that I talked about earlier in the introduction is they want it to be known that even if they die and God doesn't deliver them, what? What do they want known? Yeah, that they would not, that's what, even if God doesn't deliver us, let people know that we would not worship anything or anyone except for God, no matter what happens. So they were willing to lay their lives down on the line and say, God might not deliver us. We trust that he will deliver us. And if he doesn't, let it be known that we didn't want any part of this. So they are serious about living for Christ. And doing what is right, even when the consequences were being thrown into a scorching hot fire. As we see, point 5 the punishment is given. If somebody wants to read 19 to 23.
Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat up the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
Okay. Oh, wait. Is that every?
You said through 23, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, 23. Okay. So, and this is where I was talking where his face just completely changes I can't imagine that. I'm sure that it's even more than what we're thinking because it's recorded this way that, let me look, 19, read that again. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury and the expression on his face changed. I think this is where he just snapped, like some people snap and you can tell like they lost their temper. Because obviously he's like, I think it's a loss of temper why he says, heat the furnace to 7 times what it normally is. He's not thinking logically. He's not thinking that he's going to burn up his men because it's 7 times hotter. Like if it was normally 1,000 degrees, it's now 7,000 degrees. And I think it was actually hotter than that because when we went camping this, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, not last week, but the week before we were camping, and we'd burn like fires all day. Don't ask me why all day, because I like burning wood when I'm camping, I guess. But by the end of the night, we'd be sitting there, and there wouldn't even be any flames, but those coals were so hot, if you put your hand this high above it, if that's where the coals are, you couldn't hold it there longer than 2 seconds. And that's not even close. I mean, that was probably 700-800 degrees, but it wasn't nothing like what this is. I mean, it didn't kill us if we put our hand over it. But just to think that much heat in a little fire, then this big one was so hot that he lost his men. So he was like just snapped on this, I think. I think he just completely lost it because he wasn't getting anywhere. He knew there was nothing he could do to make them bow down, and he didn't like that he wasn't in control. So he just lost his temper. He heated up as hot as we can get it. So that's what happens. He's furious, his expression just changes, and he commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times normal. So he casted them in the fire, told his men to. And what happened to his men? You think they even got close to the flames at all? I think it was that. I don't even know how they made it that hot back then, honestly. I don't even know what they used. Burning some good wood, I guess. I don't know. Because I don't know, did they have gas back then? I don't think so. But, it's pretty amazing that he was able to get it that hot that his men died. And yet, the 3 get thrown into the fire, and they died, right? Is everybody paying attention? You're supposed to say no. Okay, so God spares them is the 6th point we see. 24 to 27, who wants to grab it?
Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered him, said to the king, true, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. When Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire.
So Nebuchadnezzar must have somehow been up some ways, a ways away, because his men got burnt just throwing them in. And I don't even know how he could see the bottom of the fire, honestly. If it's that hot and raging, I don't know how he can see men down there walking around. But he's astonished because he sees 4 men, and he's probably confused. Well, he's probably really confused. He only threw 3 in, and he thought they should have been, like, eaten by the fire, like, pretty much instantly, like his guards were that were throwing them in. And he says he sees 4 people walking around perfectly good, alive. And one looks like the Son of God, which that one's always kind of confused me. I don't know if anyone here has any. How did he know about the Son of God way back then before Jesus came? Or maybe it was just God telling him, hey, that's Jesus down there, and you really made a mistake here. So, what does he do? He calls them out of the fire, which kind of sounds crazy, right? Hey, come out of this extremely hot fire, how many ever degrees it is. Just walk out. It doesn't sound like he turned it off or nothing. He just, hey, guys, get out of there. So, one looks like the Son of God, and he calls them out of the fire, and everyone sees is what I like. If we go to 27, I want to read that again because that's a really great verse. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, and their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. So all these great guys that he called to come to this great dedication, all of them were there and witnessed this, that nothing happened to them. That they didn't smell like fire, they weren't singed, their clothes were fine. They couldn't tell they were like at a fire like you can us when we're sitting at a campfire. You can usually smell somebody pretty quick if they're around any kind of fire. And there was nothing on these. So he calls them out of the fire. Everyone sees they're good. And the fire had what on them? Absolutely what? No power. And why? Was it their own doing? No. They did what? They trusted God, right? So if we look at this choice they made, would you say, I guess you can look at it either way. Is it a hard choice? I wouldn't say the choice is hard. Because we know the choice, right? We know the decision that we should make, but we don't always do it. It's not that the decision is hard. We know what's right and wrong in the Bible, right? And they knew too. But what it was is the consequences of what was coming with that choice. We always know the right choice, but we don't always think about the consequences that come with it. That's something to remember here, is they thought through things. And to them, it was a super easy choice, right? It doesn't say that they went and talked about it and had a board meeting first if they should see if they should do it or just pretend or this and that. No, they knew the choice. The choice was easy to make. The consequences are what's harder. So God is glorified for this. Is Nebuchadnezzar, once again, what do we see? Somebody want to read 28 to 30.
Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him and set aside the king's command, and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree, any people, nation, or
Okay, so we see God is glorified. And Nebuchadnezzar once again praises God. And he makes a new decree, pretty much completely opposite of what he just had, right? Because he knows, he's seen like spectacular, he's seen like a living miracle right in front of his eyes. And he knows that he can't compete with that. He knew his most powerful weapon had no power at all. It couldn't do anything. Like somebody having a gun that can't fire. It's pretty much like that furnace was. Actually, it was like a gun that backfired because it killed his own men that were doing what he wanted. So it went completely haywire, and he says, no, I can't do anything, and he makes this new decree, and God is glorified. Is God always glorified when we do the right thing? Are we always glorified when we do the right thing? No. We shouldn't worry about that, right? If God's glorified, we should be happy. If we're not glorified, who cares? Doesn't matter. It's not why we do things, not why we shouldn't do things. And then that brings us to the seventh point, which is kind of with it. The men are rewarded for what they do. They have been given better promotions in his kingdom. And God was ultimately glorified is what comes from it. So is God going to do great things through us if we do not step out in faith like these men? Anybody? What do you think? How can he do great things, I guess, if we don't step out in faith? Boy, everyone's so talkative. Can God do great things if we're not putting faith into action? But can he do great things through us if we're not having faith? But I'm saying through us personally, like me. If I don't have any faith, is God going to do great things through me? No. Because faith without works is dead, right? So if we don't have faith like they did, and like I said, we call it a hard choice or decision, but really it's not. We always know what the right. It's black and white sin usually, and we know if it's the right thing to do or not. But sometimes we don't want to face the consequences, or we don't think about the consequences that'll come to us if we don't do what God wants us to do. And don't disobey, and do obey and not disobey. So that's the biggest thing I want us to think about is just stepping out in faith like these guys do, even when it's hard, and it's getting harder and harder, especially in our schools and at different jobs. At work, I know they making different rules and things that appease everybody. They'll say not to talk religious talk. They've said that at our work, and it's even Christians that run the place. But I told my boss we were still going to have those discussions, and he said, fine. So, I don't know. They're just trying to please everybody is what they're doing. And, but yeah, have faith and step out for God like these men do. Would have God been glorified as much if they wouldn't have done this? Nebuchadnezzar would have thought, oh, your God couldn't protect you. He probably would have talked more bad about him, right? And blasphemy if they hadn't done this. But as worldly as this man was and as arrogant and as full of himself, he even praised God because he saw that his biggest weapon had no power at all when he was going against God. It was just like God blew it out like a birthday candle. So that's what I got, unless anyone else has anything they'd like to share to close. Anybody? No one? Okay. I will close in a word of prayer and we'll be done. Dear God, thank you for this night that we could come here, and for everybody that's here tonight, and just help us all to have faith like these three servants of yours did. And just thank you for what they were able to do and how they showed Nebuchadnezzar how powerless he truly was against you. And just help us to be stepping out in faith this next week and not be ashamed of you or scared to do the right thing. Amen.